My parents came here, and they came here without, at the time they got here, they barely spoke any English. They had no money. They had no formal education. And they struggled. Life in America was hard. It wasn't easy. They didn't walk off the airplane and immediately hit it big. In fact, they were discouraged their first few years here. But they stuck it out and they persevered. They never became rich. They never became famous. But my parents were successful because they were able, working as a bartender and a maid. My mom did a lot of jobs, by the way. She worked at a factory building aluminum chairs. Then she worked as a cashier at a hotel in Miami Beach. Then she worked as a maid right here in this city at the Imperial Palace. I lived here for 6 years growing up. Then she went back to Miami and worked as a stock clerk at Kmart. My dad was primarily a bartender at banquets, at the bowling alley here in Las Vegas, at Sam's Town. Working those jobs, here's what my parents achieved. They owned a home in a safe and stable neighborhood. They raised 4 children and left all 4 of them with a life better than the one they knew. And they were able to retire with dignity and security. The next time someone tells you the American dream is only about how much money you make, or whether you become famous or well-known, it isn't true. That may be part of your individual dream. But the American dream is about achieving happiness and fulfillment, as you define it. By the way, we call it the American dream, but it really is a universal dream. People all over the world have this dream. They've had it for millennia. The desire not just to be better off and to earn a better life, but to leave their kids better off than themselves. Why they call it the American dream is because so many millions of people have been able to achieve it here and not in other places. That's the real American dream. Why was it possible? I believe it began with the Declaration of Independence because it had this very profound statement. You know, we're one of the few, if maybe only countries in history founded on a spiritual principle. Here's the spiritual principle. Every human being, not every human being born in North America, every human being is born with certain rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those rights do not come from your government. They don't come from the king, and they don't come from the law. Those rights come from your Creator. We are going to have a government, but the purpose of that government is to protect those rights, not to decide them or to grant them. And the only power we're going to give the government is the power they need to protect those rights. Those are words that we've grown numb to because we've known it our whole life. Let me tell you, that was the reason why everything else I've just described to you was possible. Because from that flowed political freedoms, absolutely. But from that also flowed economic freedoms and liberties. For example, the system of free enterprise. You know why I love free enterprise? Because if you look at my background, the son of immigrant, a bartender and a maid, never made a lot of money, never lived in a mansion, didn't inherit any money. You put all that information into a political computer, it spits out left-wing liberal. But you know why I'm not? I'll tell you why I'm not. Because free enterprise and limited government is the only governing model in the history of the world where what my parents did would be possible. It's the only economic model in the history of the world where you can be more successful without making someone else worse off. It's the only economic model in the history of the world where I can climb without me having to knock you down. It's the only one that says the economy is not a zero-sum game.